I needed a break. I decided to research the most absurd preposterous topic floating out there. Something I could say, F you, world. Something I could give the big middle finger to everyone out there. The experts, the authorities, whomever had filled my head with the biggest pile of BS. What could it be? I know, Bigfoot. Surely that would make whomever is left leave me alone by the wayside. My way of saying I'm going for broke. After all, it should I should discover it's just another government psyop. Something to lead me to more confusion and lies. Well, little did I realize how it would change my life forever. I don't know, let's first start, and it's gonna be a rough situation because I'm a rough character, pretty simple guy. You tell me what that thing with two eyes staring back at you are. Something with his weird looking hand. It's two eyes. It's quote unquote cone shaped head. Its shoulder going there and there. Hiding behind a tree in the middle of the day. This was actually taken in the March of 2018. Sometime. And so this would about the same time, a little over a year, me doing research on this supposed Bigfoot. By the way, this was in town. There was a patch of woods there. There were some railroad tracks, next to some railroad tracks. And then there was a grove that was in between the railroad tracks and the main road. It was very close to a Freemasonic lodge, by the way, too. If that mattered at all. I don't know what I'm looking at. I think I have an idea what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a tree spirit. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry about the rough beginning, but everything's rough for me. Anybody that follows me, it's a miracle. But back in the beginning of 2017, after doing intensive research on just about every topic I could figure out, I realized that most of the stuff that we believe in are theories that still haven't been proven. They're guesswork, ideas, our imagination. And so I decided, what the heck? Let's go for broke. Let's go for the one thing that everyone in the truther community laughs at. Bigfoot. Now I started to do an interview with some guy, is it Bigfoot post-traumatic PTSD? Is that what it is? I don't know where my interviews are, and half the things I've somehow lost them. Mind you, this was now 5 years ago. And which I listened to him, and then I listened to other people. I did a series with M.K. Davis where I have no idea where it's at. If anybody can find it for me, that'd be great. I don't know where to find it in the Wayback Machine. I started doing interviews with Kat Hansen, and things started getting weird when I decided to go out for myself and do field research. And right away, I mean, we're talking like right away, I went into what's called oak openings in northwest Ohio. You could look it up on a map. It's a large forested area. There's houses and communities, but that in particular is a I think it's a state park. Definitely part of the metro parks, if I'm not mistaken. So, or at least part of Lucas County. And right away, I mean, the moment we drove into the damn thing, since I had learned already about tree structures and all that, I discovered a tree structure. I'll try to find that picture in the next recording. I'll share that. With me and my son, we found that. And it was an undeniable tree structure. After finding that structure, walking around that, things started getting crazy. I mean crazy. Within that summer, I would have seen Bigfoot several times in different shapes and sizes. If it even is Bigfoot. You know, I hear people say that there's one thing, that it's a flesh and blood creature. Maybe so. I have nothing to convince me of that. I do have a lot of images of these things showing up on my camera when I'm right there, 15, 20 feet, 30 feet, I don't know, what's that, 10, 15 yards away, hiding behind trees. I can't see with my naked eye, but when I took pictures of it with a camera, there it was, the black shadow. As much as people want to believe that that's not something other than what it is, some kind of entity, some kind of life force. I didn't want to believe it either. One thing I noticed, a lot of these things pop out of trees. Literally pop out of trees. You might say I'm full of crap, and I hope I am full of crap. It would be a lot more easier to accept for me and for most of you if it was simply some hybrid half-man, half-beast thing, or some animal that's been with us for 1,000 years, or maybe it's a descendant of Cain, or etc., etc. Something that walked with Gilgamesh. Why not? The fact of the matter is, in my journey, discover what this thing is, my life has changed drastically. And the images that have been burnt in my head, the things that I've seen with my naked eyes, not just the things that I felt, but the more important things that I've seen with my naked eyes, and the things that I experienced have changed me drastically. So I guess this is part one. There was a series I was having that's called Getting Real with Bigfoot, about Bigfoot. I'm going to call it The Year of Bigfoot. This is my series. And I'm just going to do recordings as I do some writing. I'm going to force myself every day to write some. I am a terrible writer. I'm a terrible communicator. I'm not good at much about anything. In fact, I'm not good at anything. If you watched me, I'm a tragic human being. And after 2009, when I was injected with something that poisoned me and caused me to end up having multiple sclerosis, allegedly, my life has never been the same since. Did I say 2000? What did I say? 2009, yeah. There was a program going on there, a very similar program that we've witnessed the past 2 years. After listening to a whole bunch of other people, I realized the degree in which we are willing to lie to each other. So what's the point in me lying about anything? I'm just going to share with you what I experienced, what I felt. You tell me what these things are, but you better prove it to me. What's better ways? Prove it to me what these things are. Oh, you can share with me what you think about it. That's great. We can pontificate and speculate and share our stories and all that. But ultimately, these stories seem to be going on for thousands of years. Somehow being twisted and turned. For some reason, people not telling the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth. Otherwise, maybe for their advantage, maybe for their fear of what this might turn out to be. What may happen? Consequences. All I can say is, from my experience, and I know they're real, I don't know how to prove it to you that they're real. I guess I can encourage you to go out there and find out for yourself, but I must warn you, they'll come home, they'll follow you. They won't have a problem following you. I don't know, if you look real careful enough, this we'll say grassman, booger, tree demon, tree ape, whatever, he ain't alone, I just realized. Not at all. There's something big behind it, too. Yet it was the middle of the day, in the middle of a town, right next to a very busy street. You can see the eye right there, and the white pupil, and the pupil and the white around it. There's another cone head. I don't know what you tell me. Maybe it's just my imagination. But it seems to me that there's a guy here and a guy behind him as well. There's a lot of black when there was no black when I took the picture. But when I took the picture and developed it, or not even developed it, just put it on the computer and oh, look at that. There it is. I don't know. I've had some frightening experiences. And I've decided to, I've been listening to Sasquatch Chronicles after 2 years, intensive 2 years, past 2 years, researching and trying to warn the world about what's going on. I only have my channel taken down, and also to have really a realization that most people don't want to know the truth. So what does man do? All a man can do is share his story. And if, you believe it or not, that's up to you. And if you don't believe it, I don't blame you. I wouldn't believe it unless I experienced it. I've heard tree knocking in the middle of a cemetery in town. I've heard gibberish nonsense along the railroad tracks, along my backyard. And my next door neighbor can confirm that. I've seen this black entity on a Saturday night in 2017, around the same time when they had the solar eclipse. I ended up, it's interesting, the day before, I was talking to my brother because I had seen something already, something brown, or beigeish brown, extremely humid and large on the other side of the creek, about 100 plus yards along the shrub line, tree line, run through this path. It was a strange, bizarre night worth talking about as well. Supernatural. I think you're having one of those supernatural experiences when the world seems and time seems to stop and things seem to morph and things seem to happen. You see things you wouldn't expect to see, experience things you wouldn't expect to experience, And so, anyways, I don't know, about a week later, maybe 5 days later, I was talking to my big brother, and he said about this, and I said, I think it's a spirit from what I'm experiencing. And he said, well, if it's, you will probably have an experience where you interact with some Native Americans. Now, it was interesting that he said that because where I live, I'm part Native American, but there ain't no Native Americans. Just a bunch of white people, black people, flooding out Asians and people from the Middle East and that. A lot of Muslims now. And it's changed a lot in 5 years with that whole place. It's a good thing I took a few pictures. Anyways, he said, don't be surprised how you interact with the Native Americans. You have interaction with them. Well, lo and behold, the next day, I went to go get a pizza at one of the local pizza places. It runs along this creek. At this time, I also had realized that I had discovered a tree teepee in the middle of town. I realized that these things were using it, and it was right behind this pizza joint. There were several restaurants, and there's a big dumpster there. And the big dumpster, if you went down the hill from where the big dumpster was, there was this not tree lean, it was a tree teepee. One of the things you'll see from Colorado, Bigfoot and others. But this is small. Because remember, I live in northwest Ohio, and so in the middle of town, so these were branches that were systematically cleared off and turned into long poles, turned into teepee, where something was sitting in. Anyways, as I got the pizza and I walked out, I see this dude with long black hair, skinny guy. He looked Native American, darker colored skin. Darker brown, I should say, than I. And I went to him and I said, believe it or not, because, I don't know, just after the conversation I had with my brother, and it turns out the guy was a Crow Indian. And he went by the name Crow. And I said, hey, how you doing, man? And I asked him, because he was walking from where that tree teepee was, that direction, and to say he was there. And he's just a guy just walking around town, I guess. Of all places, in the middle of where I live, where there's no Native Americans. So I said, hey man, I got some pizza. You want a piece of pizza? And we got talking. And I said, hey man, I know this place. There's this ravine where I believe there is a Bigfoot nest. So it's going to be very hard. It's good I'm doing this because I got to collect all my thoughts. It's been 5 years. I tried my best to avoid all this. Apparently you can't avoid this stuff. Once it happens, it happens. And you're going to have to deal with it one way or the other. Anyways, I said, and it was getting dark. It was about, when I first met him, it was about 7:38-ish. Maybe. And we're talking. I said, hey, why don't you so in the course of this time, I said, do you know about Bigfoot and all that? And he said, oh yeah. And he's telling me stuff and say, that he's been in Montana and seen Bigfoot and in Northern California, where my big brother saw him. You tell me. I'm not making this stuff up. It sounds like I'm making it up, but. So anyways, I said, you want to go check out this nest? Which, by the way, was in this ravine, a deep ravine that cut through a cemetery. So, but it was an old cemetery, and there was no gates or anything there. So we pulled in there with my car. We parked on the side where I had seen this nest. And the reason why I say there's nest, there was a big tree that fell in this ravine. Something broke it in half, or something broke it. Just broke it. It wasn't hit by lightning. And it was like something just pushed it over, and it was, you just imagine, all cracked up and a lot of splinters and all that kind of stuff. And this tree was running across this ravine, and it was deep. Oh, I would say at the bottom of it, from where you were standing at the top, it was about 20, 25 yards. There's a stream running, a little stream running through it. It led into the creek, or what you might call streams, we call creeks. Creeks then go into, or creeks go into rivers, and they go into, etc. But there's streams that then go into the creeks, right? I saw one of those things, and so did he. I told him we were talking about that. I said, yeah, there's something down there in those trees. I've been taking pictures of this. There's something. I think it's a Bigfoot nest. So, just out of blue, we started doing that Bigfoot, ooh, oh, whatever, how we did it. I can't even do it. Whatever, he did it a couple times. And next thing you know, 2 heads popped up. Cone heads. Black. And he did it a couple more times. The next thing, one of those things jumped way up. And next thing you know, he's out of the tree. He's in between us and the tree, crawling up the frickin' bank of the frickin' ravine, the side of the ravine. And then it got weirder from there. Anyways, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how one that was really had a skin that was like leathery, big sucker that popped out of a neighbor's tree. A lot of the trees around me started dying during this time period. I mean, big trees. Big trees. Oh, you tell me what that thing is. And you tell me what the things are behind it. Now, I know it's not we don't want that. That's not a face. We need a face. I'm sorry. They don't generally pose for, a family portrait for you. That just doesn't seem to happen. Believe what you want. I don't blame you if you don't believe. I wouldn't believe myself if I didn't experience myself. There's something out there. There's a lot of things out there. And it's not just one thing. There's a whole bunch of things. The people talk about different dimensions. I don't think they're dimensions. I think they're different spectrums of light. I think they're always around us. And you and I never run across them. Normally don't run or see them or run across them. It seems like there's only certain times of day, certain locations, certain experiences, certain time of the year, etc., where you might have a glimpse of these things. But I think these things have always been living side by side with us, but in another spectrum, and they're able to avoid us. But we can't avoid that. We can't see them. They know that they must know that we can't see them, for the most part. And so they're always there. And so if you see something that they can't see you, and you're faster, quicker, and etc., if they ever come around you, well, you can get the heck out of there. They'll never even see you get the heck out of there, because you're in a different light spectrum. They've always been there. They always will be here. As long as there are trees and there's life in this world, there always will be here. And these things seem to know, some of these things seem to even live in the trees. Literally, I'm not talking about a hole in a tree. I'm talking about they live within the life force of the tree. And they have their moments. I might be wrong about all this. I've more than willing to agree with you that I'm wrong with all this. You don't have to agree with me. I know nobody wants to invite me to any of their little powwows and their journeys and their searches for their Bigfoots. But then again, unless you're willing to have a real honest conversation, which means I don't want to be just hearing about, oh, they're flesh and blood and you have to regurgitate whatever all the experts have said. I want to hear your experience, what you experienced, what you have seen, not what other people say it is. The moment you allow other people to decide for you what your experience is the moment you give hand over the truth to someone else other than what may teach you that's even more wiser. Look at that head right there. That eye right there and right there. I don't know if that's a branch or that's just some ugly teeth. There is something right here too. Looking at, you see the side profile. There is a big one right here. Once again with the big white eyes. What is that? And why do they come in different shapes and sizes? Now you can say I'm full of crap. And I hope I am full of crap. Because it would make life a lot easier. To be honest with you. But something's going on. And it's not what Sasquatch Chronicles are saying. It's not what, you name it, the Outlaws are saying. It's not what any of these guys are saying. For some reason, they refuse to, they want to all just label as supernatural or the woo and all this kind of nonsense. Instead of accepting the fact that there's a lot of things out there that the scientific method ain't going to prove. That men's and their imagination is not going to prove. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that there's more going on around here, and there's things going on here that people, that men, and their vain imaginations defined. It's a good thing there's still mysteries out there, don't you think? And it's a good thing to believe in God. Now, what I've come to, you might not like to hear that, or Jesus and all that kind of stuff, but I don't really care if you believe in Jesus or not. I ask you a question, why you even have an issue with him and what he did. If you study what he did, there ain't a reason for you to have any issue with him. Now, you might have an issue, should have some issue with the priestcraft and the churches and the religions who have lied about what he said and did. That you should have an issue with. But what somebody in the past, whether you believe is real or not, the question is, if you have an issue with somebody you don't even believe is real, there's something wrong with you. First of all, you have an issue with an imaginary person. Imaginary person that you don't believe is even real. You should have an issue with the priestcraft. You should have an issue with the Vatican and all these different fake Christian churches and religions and everyone else, because they've been using a story of the past, something that happened in the past, to beat you over the head with. By the way, the name of Jesus will help you in these things. It will protect you. And that's the reason why I believe in Jesus, because of these things. Not because of you. If somebody would have said, Native American medicine and magic would have worked, or something else, and it worked, I would believe in that. But the only thing that actually worked, drive them away, was the name Jesus. Now you hate that. I asked you, why do you hate that? Well, I'm this, that, the other. I don't care what you're this, that, and the other. I'm asking you an honest question. Why do you hate somebody you either don't believe in, or say you never believed in, never was real, or that, is some evil thing, or I've heard everything under the sun. But if you read the book for what it says, let me tell you, you'll have intellectual defense against all the nonsense out there. And there's a lot of nonsense out there, and a lot of egotistical nonsense out there. What is it? If it's not Bigfoot, what the hell is it? I mean, here's the thing. If the more you look at this thing, it's almost like it moves. You can see that there's the eyes. There's the two dots. It's like it moved. But if you look real careful, there's something right there. And it's not the branch running through that. You can see the eyes and nose. But then there's these two dots. Is that part of the cloaking, the deception? There's the cone head. There's shit going on around here. I know one thing. There's something right here. So is it... I don't know what the hell. All I know is it wasn't there when I was filming it. I didn't see it when I was filming it. You tell me what the hell it is.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
If I can't